Hello, welcome to my video review of the EP Slowdown by the band Fennel. Fennel is actually the solo project of the bassist from the band Trico. So her name is Hiromi Sagane, and she goes by the nickname Hirohiro. So she has been in that band for just about 14 years now. They have about 6 or 7 albums now, and although Hiromi is the bassist, she actually sings on a few songs, and that would include the song Diver from their 2015 EP. That would also include the song Summer Night Town from their 2020 second album of the year called 10. And then she also has a very short verse on the song Yosuiki from the Trico album 3 from 2017. So in 2020, because of the COVID lockdowns, Hiromi said, I'm going to make my own solo material. She recorded very early versions for the guitar, the bass, and the drums all on her own. So in essence, she has actually written almost every part of almost every song. And then she would hand off everything that she had actually created herself to the bandmates that she plays live with. And so they are the ones on the final recordings. Speaking of the band members, I could not for the life of me find out who was in the band at the time this EP came out. I think it might be listed on the physical CD. However, that CD sold out within a month of this album coming out. So it's not sold on the record label's website anymore, nor in their physical store. I could not find the information online on the record label's website or on the Twitter for the record label or on Hiromi's Twitter account either. So I don't know this information. There is information available for their second EP, but I don't know if those are all the same members from this first one. So I will be talking about how fantastic the other members of the band are and sound. I can't actually properly credit them because that information is just not available. Okay, so with all that out of the way, what kind of band is Fennel? So the band really exists in a few different realms. So they definitely incorporate some elements from a wide range of genres. This would kind of include general rock from the 90s and early 2000s. They are very post-punk, they're very punk in general, they're very shoegaze, they're very Midwest emo, they're very pop punk. They really do not shy away from kind of turning into this amalgamation of just all kinds of genres and sounds, and I think that really works in their favor on this project. Because Hiromi hasn't sung much in the past, you do have to ask yourself the question, how is she as a singer and front woman of her own band? Right? In my opinion, she's always had a fairly quiet and very sort of mousy quality to her voice. While she can sometimes get lost in the mix on songs in this EP, I actually find that the use of layering her vocals really helped her stand out against everything else happening in the song. I will touch on mixing a little bit later, but just to kind of preface that, this EP has the best mixing of anything I've ever heard in my whole life. This is the one. This is it. This is the gold standard. Although she can sometimes get lost a little bit and it's not quite possible to hear what she's saying for her lyrics, it still really works out for the band's overall sound and vibe. So overall, I think Hiromi's singing is fantastic on this EP. I actually saw this band live in Japan last year, and I don't think the engineer at the venue really knew what he was doing because she sounded just unintelligible, which was a real shame. And it's a real step down from just how she sounds here. She actually sounds very clear on this EP, but oh my god, I was like straining to hear her at that live show. So in particular, I think she sounds really good on the first song called Drunker. And I just find that she has this like very cool cadence to her voice that is just really like enrapturing. And it's like, I want to hear more of this like all the time. It's so good. I really love her on that song. So singing is all well and good, right? But how is she as a songwriter? So I'm not really sure to what degree she actually participates in the songwriting for Trico. She is for sure composing her own bass lines. However, we weren't really sure of her capabilities as a lyricist at this point. So after listening to this EP, I can definitely say that she's a fantastic songwriter too. I really have nothing bad to say about her skills as a musician, singer, or lyricist like in the slightest. I just find that she's able to come up with very interesting scenarios to write about and then accompany those scenarios with just more interesting lyricism as well. More so than that, and what I really want to talk about is how good she is at writing really catchy hooks. Just off the top of my head, that first song, Drunker, fantastic catchy hook. Love that so much. But honestly, that song is just really cool overall and is one of my favorite Japanese songs ever. So there are actually two songs on this album that feature English lyrics as the hook. That's not really too surprising, given that the lead singer of Trico, whose name is EQ, and Hiromi seem to be the most English competent members of that band. So her being able to use English a fair bit on this EP isn't all that surprising. The way she writes these hooks just sounds cool too. There is one song from this EP in particular called Supergirl. The hook for that, I have it on my notes right there. It goes, "You don't have to push yourself too hard anymore, do you, do you? Oh, I feel happiness in the most ordinary thing in day-to-day life." Now, obviously, it sounds much better when the singer is singing it, but what's cool about this hook in particular is that she actually reuses it on their second EP in a much more punk-oriented song. And so now she kind of has her, like, thing, right? Where she'll end some hooks, "Do you, do you?" And it always sounds cool when she does it. It's not like it's anything revolutionary, but just when you hear it and you're already in the vibe of the song, it just hits you just in the perfect right way. And that's what I find with a lot of her lyrics just in general. She knows when she's found something and she really utilizes it effectively as a songwriter. And so there's another song on the album too called You and I, and it's the very last song. And I actually believe You and I was a very early song that she released for this solo project on her SoundCloud. And she had announced it on her Twitter, and it was really rough. But it really came together well here in the final cut. And I love this song so much, and I think it's such a fantastic closer, just in general. So the hook for this, it's super simple. It just goes, "I don't know what I am to you, but you're very important to me," which is just really, really cute. Right? And so I find that she utilizes English in very intimate moments within the songs. So it's almost as if she's able to express herself more freely in English. So for example, on their second EP, there's a song called Glider. Glider is about just going somewhere, wherever, kind of on a whim, just for the fun of it and just to kind of get away from your everyday life. So the main hook for that song is basically her saying, "Let's go on a journey somewhere with heavy luggage." So with that, she's kind of expressing this idea of like, let's go somewhere and not come back for a while. And I think her being very open and honest, particularly with English lyrics, is a really interesting thing to do. And that's not really something I've seen a lot of other Japanese artists do. It's either they are using full Japanese or full English. They aren't really mixing it in this way. So I think it's really neat that Hiromi took that approach with her songwriting. I know that was multiple tangents all kind of just strung together, but I just really like her as a lyricist, and I think she really has this unique flavor to the way that she writes. Okay, so I've hyped up Hiromi a ton. However, now the question is, how does the rest of the band sound? And the band sounds fantastic. And I'm also going to include all of the sound engineers in that too. Everyone who contributed to this album is incredible. For example, the drummer sounds fantastic on every song he's on, not just because of how well he plays, but also because of all of the people in the background that were working just on the overall experience of how this album sounds. He sounds fantastic because of his own work, but because of the team who actually kind of spruced it up too. Every part just sounds fantastic, and that goes for the guitarist, for Hiromi as the bassist. Everyone just sounds so clear and focused and just in unison. It's a beautiful thing. It really, really is. I always love listening to this album because it feels like I'm there in the room with them. It is so fantastic. And because the actual instrumentation of all of the songs is so expressive and just loud, I just love experiencing it. It's so fantastic. And like I've said, the hooks are catchy, the guitar melodies are catchy, all of the bass lines are catchy, and just really kind of invigorate me with energy. Chord progressions on some of these songs are just, they end in this like perfect culmination of sound and just music that is just so enrapturing and fun to experience. And I love it so much. It's so good. So in case you can't tell, I easily think that this EP is a 10 out of 10. So this EP came out in 2021, and so an album from Trico actually came out the same year, and I think that this EP easily clears everything on that album, even though I do really love that Trico album as well. I just think that this EP is a shining golden example of what an EP should be. It showcases the artist's sound with enough variation in the song so as not to become too samey or stale. There is incredible mixing in every instance on every song. These songs are also a perfect length too. They aren't too short, they aren't too long, which can be a problem with some rock bands, especially if they're just starting out because they haven't really nailed what works for them yet. And as I've said, Hiromi is a fantastic singer and songwriter. So with that said, this was my favorite Japanese album of all of 2021. And I go back to this EP so frequently, and I've never gotten tired of it. And I honestly don't think I ever will. I enjoyed re-listening to this for this review so much, and I had been looking forward to it. It did not disappoint. It never does. I don't think it ever will. So yeah, 10 out of 10, fantastic EP. This is something you need to listen to. It is so good. I'm kind of sad that I don't think I'll ever find something that lives up to this degree of just perfection, to be honest with you. You should really listen to this EP. I really highly recommend it, obviously. So thank you for watching. I do also plan to review their second EP here soon. I do have that one physically, so I can kind of show it off, which I think will be sort of fun. So yeah, I hope to see you in that video as well, and have a good rest of your day.